My best month was just under $19,000. I'm Jeff with Top Star Mobile Detailing. I built a six-figure mobile detailing business here in just under a year, putting the customer's needs first over your needs. If you go into it with that intent of you're there to serve, you're there to provide value, then the money will follow. At the end of every detail, I'll walk through the car with the client and building a relationship with them. If they tell you that they're 100% satisfied with your service, they're never going to leave you.
What is like the best advice that you have for someone who just got started with your detailing journey?
If you're just getting started, I would say you got to keep.
Welcome.
Hey, Mohammed, thanks for inviting me.
Of course, man. So for the people who don't know who you are you?
I'm Jeff with Top Star Mobile Detailing in Las Vegas, Nevada. I built a six-figure mobile detailing business here in just under a year.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So how did you start, car detailing? Like, how did you get into that?
Yeah, it's something that I've always had a passion for ever since I was a child, something I've always enjoyed. I was working various sales jobs pretty much, over the last 20 years. And then, we had the pandemic happen, and basically the job that I was working went out of business and they didn't reopen. So I had to kind of reevaluate what I was going to do with my life. And I decided to take some time off and travel a bit. I went and lived in Spain and Ibiza for about a year, and then spent some time in London and just kind of get away and reset, and it was really when I was over in Ibiza that I came up with the idea for the detailing business. I knew I'd be moving back to the States at some point. And so I just kind of was thinking back to some of my skill sets and my passions. And I knew I didn't really want to go back to work for somebody else again. And I wanted to do my own thing. So I was kind of brainstorming as to, what skill sets I had and what I enjoyed. And then I came up with the idea for a detailing business and put out a business plan and moved back to Las Vegas, implemented the plan, and then got right to work.
All right. So you said you were doing sales before COVID happened, right? So what type of sales were you doing at that time?
So I was in the art industry for a little over the last decade, selling fine art, luxury art sales. And I've been in the kind of luxury segment for a while. Prior to that, I was managing really high end, health clubs and gyms. So I was very familiar with luxury products and goods and services, which I think helped carry over to the detailing business, which, that's also considered a luxury service that people buy and use for their vehicles. So I think a lot of that skill set helped me succeed early on in the detailing business.
So, for most people, right, when they start a business, right, the beginning part is always the hardest part. So what were some of the struggles that you were facing at the beginning, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest struggle that I went through as a new business owner was just finding new customers and new clients. When you first get started, you set up your website and your Google business page and all that, but it doesn't really kick in for a couple months for the SEO to start working on it. So when you first start off, you're just kind of, reaching out to friends and family and trying to get your name out there, passing out cards and flyers and stuff like that. So just making it through those first 2 months or 3 months maybe was a struggle. And you kind of have to plan for that in advance, have some money saved up and budgeted to get you through, to carry you through that slow time. But then once my SEO started kicking in from Google and my website, I started getting more and more business. And now I'm at a point where I'm pretty much booked out a week in advance, all day, every day.
All right. Okay, so you said you have to kind of set a budget for the first 2 months of just pure struggle. How much do you need to start a car detailing, to just start car detailing? How much do you need?
It's going to vary depending on what people's goals are. For me, I decided to go all in. I built a really nice mobile setup in a 5x10 enclosed trailer. And I went with very nice new equipment. For me, I think the total cost was around $25,000 to get started. But you can't get started for much less than that. You could get started for probably a couple $1,000s just buying the very basics that you need. And then, kind of work and build up from there and upgrade your equipment over time. I think a lot of it also depends on what your living situation is too, what your financial responsibilities are. So, if you're living at home with your parents, maybe you have a little bit more flexibility where you're not paying rent and have a lot of outgoing bills. It's tough when you're on your own. Maybe you're working another job and you're living check to check and you don't have a bunch of money saved up. It can be very difficult in the beginning. So I would recommend, before jumping in, that you have at least a few months income saved up to carry you through to get it going. Because, it does take some time to get it launched and get the customers that you need to be able to support yourself full time.
All right. So, when you first started, right, did you already plan that you're gonna make this a full-time like business, or were you just doing this as a side hustle?
No, for me, I went all in. I didn't have a plan B or anything. It was something that I said, hey, I'm going to make this work no matter what it takes, no matter how much work I got to put in, no matter how many hours a day I have to work on it. And I literally did. Like, I work even now. My hours are 7 to 7, 7 days a week. So I've been on that schedule since I opened the business. So, I'm working pretty much 84 to 90 hours a week. I do take a day off here and there or take a little trip or something like that. But I definitely wanted to go into it all in, and it wasn't like a part-time thing for me or like a side project or anything. I needed to make it work in order to be able to survive and pay my bills and have a comfortable income.
I see. So you said you were working like 7 to 7, right? Like you were working 12 hours a week, like a day. So, what are you actually doing like between that 12 hours? Cause like, are you like just like cleaning cars like for 12 hours straight? Like
Yeah, I mean, not the full 12 hours. Usually I'll do around 4 to 5 vehicles per day. So out of that 12 hours, maybe actually detailing around 9, and then a lot of it is driving from customer to customer location, restocking supplies, just prepping the trailer and just getting stuff ready, answering phone calls from customers, answering quotes, things like that. There's a lot more to running the business than strictly just, washing cars and detailing cars. So even when I'm not working in the business, I'm in some way working on the business. I'm usually, either doing maintenance or stuff on the internet with my website or my page or marketing, things like that, so I'm constantly working on the business.
all right. Okay, so through that early stages of you starting your business, right? How were you finding clients? Like, how were you getting clients?
So from the very beginning, it was friends, family, kind of word of mouth. I do have a wrap on my trailer, like a business logo wrap, which I got a lot of business off of that because it's basically like dragging around a mobile billboard everywhere you go. So, I'd be parked in shopping centers, like at the grocery store, and people would see the trailer and call me off that. And they say, hey, I saw your mobile detailing trailer in the parking lot. Can I get a quote? So I drag that thing around with me everywhere. If I go to the gym, the store, I'm in traffic. And because the more that I'm out and about with that, it's just like pulling a sign around behind you, so I definitely got some business off of that. I had my Google business page set up and website set up from day one. So I did get a little bit of traffic off Google, but it wasn't really till like a month or two in where I really started to get some traction from Google. The SEO started working, and then I started getting a lot of calls from that. I was getting consistent 5-star reviews too, which kept moving me up the rankings list. So when I first started, I was pretty near the bottom of the list, of over 100 detailers or so in my area. And then every week I would climb up a few spots. And then, I kept getting those 5-star reviews to where I finally broke into the top 10. And now I'm ranked number 1 in the Vegas market.
Congratulations. So, when you first started, right, you were like the very, very bottom. So what were things that you were doing like differently that was able to elevate you all the way to like the top?
I would say a couple of the biggest things was the reviews for sure, getting the 5-star reviews. I was very vigilant about that. I was able to get over 200 5-star reviews in my first year. So that really catapulted me in front of a lot of other competitors in the market. I was very focused on building my brand, my reputation from the beginning. So I built up that good reputation around town of not only doing really high quality work, high quality detailing, but also the level of customer service and that customer experience that I would provide to people. So, they would tell other friends, and I would get a lot of referrals from my existing customers. And then I also set up like a maintenance program where people could get their vehicle service on a monthly basis at a discounted cost. So I started getting, you know, clients that would come back and come back every month. So I would get those clients back on top of the new ones that were coming in into the funnel too. So it just kept growing like every month by, 10%, and just kept building up.
So, what are some mistakes that you notice from like other car detailers?
I think, it's hard to say on everyone's going to be different on that, but there's a lot of people that I just think don't put 100% effort into their business. I hear from a lot of clients that I've serviced where they booked an appointment with, say, another detailer, and they were a couple hours late from the time that they were supposed to show up, or they just never showed up at all, or they didn't communicate with their clients, so things like that. I guess those would kind of be like some of the main things. I think some detailers out there, they just don't focus on building that strong winning brand. They're just kind of cruising on cruise control, and they're kind of just happy being average. They're not really like striving to grow their business and level up their business. Some of them don't reinvest the profits back into the business, which is important. For me, I take pretty much just the bare minimum that I need to live on to pay my expenses, and then the rest of my money, the rest of the profits go roll back into the business to help grow and build the business up there. So I'm constantly reinvesting and trying to grow the business.
So, for the average car detailer, right? How do they become like not average?
Yeah, it's a good question. You have to be willing to put in the work. You have to go above and beyond. It's not about just doing good detailing. That's expected of you as a detailer. It comes, more importantly, I think, is providing the customer experience from the time that you take their phone call to book the appointment, your communication with them, all the way to the time that you show up and you meet them in the driveway and their first impression of you. Like when you get there, are you showing up as a professional? Are you showing up in like your logo uniform, your hat, or, are you just showing up like you just rolled out of bed and you're late and you're wearing like raggedy clothes and your, equipment all falling out of your car, or are you, representing yourself as a professional, right? So people are going to judge you in those first 5 to 10 seconds that they meet you. So it's all about, that impression that you make with your customers, and the overall experience that they have with you. And that's going to help you get those 5-star reviews, which is going to build your business and build your brand. I think it's really important.
What are some things that you keep in mind when you're working on luxury cars compared to your normal average cars?
People with the luxury cars, it's still a car. I mean, it's still basically the same process. You have to be a little bit more careful, I think, with the vehicles, because you definitely don't want to damage, a car that's over $100,000 vehicle or something, especially if you don't have insurance. I'm fully insured in case anything ever were to happen. But I know there's a lot of detailers out there that, don't have insurance. So anything like if you damaged a vehicle like that, it could be, really, really bad financially for you. You have to realize that customers with those type of vehicles are going to be a little bit more meticulous about how it looks at the end. They're going to, want to make sure that it looks like a showroom vehicle. Whereas people with a little bit older cars that are maybe a little bit more beat up and grimy, they're just expecting you to get it into a better condition. They're not expecting it to be like a brand new showroom condition vehicle. They just want it to look, 80 to 90% better, and they're happy with the result on that.
So, with those luxury cars, right? How do you find customers with luxury cars?
That's a great question, Mohammed. What works for me is I post a lot on my social media. So every time that I do a high-end vehicle, like if I'm doing, a Rolls Royce or a Bentley, a McLaren, things like that nature, I post really high quality photos on my social media, videos, reels, as well as on my Google page, because that's essentially like your social proof, right? So you want to be posting those type of things to where when your customers and clients, they're looking at your social media or they're looking at your Google page, they're going to see that you've had experience detailing those type of vehicles in the past. So they're going to have that confidence in you and feel comfortable and see you as like a trusted authority in the space, right? So it's really important to have that as like a social proof. It's almost like a resume for you, right? So instead of telling customers how great you are and these are the vehicles I do, you can show them by having that type of photos and videos on your social media. So when they go there, they're going to see that and feel confident in your expertise.
Okay, so how do you price those luxury cars?
So they're going to be priced as the same as you would price a regular vehicle. So I do my pricing based on the size of the vehicle. So smaller cars and sedans would be one price. Then you have like small SUVs and mid-sized trucks would be a separate price. And then the really large SUVs, like with the third row seating or like minivans, things that are just larger vehicles, those are going to be at a different price. So I don't base it like on the type of vehicle, like what it is versus like a Toyota Corolla versus a Mercedes. If it's a car, it's a car. It's going to be priced as a car, So it really comes down to the size. And that's based off of, it takes longer. The larger the vehicle is, the longer it's going to take, the more time involved. So you have to charge accordingly for that extra time.
Sure. What was like the craziest car you have ever detailed?
When you say craziest, do you mean like most luxurious, or do you mean like the worst, condition vehicle?
Okay, so like first let's start off with the worst condition vehicle, and then you're gonna tell me like the most like luxurious car you've ever detailed.
Yeah. I've only had one job that I had to walk away from, and it was because they had spilled like a seafood ceviche in their car, and it went all down like in the seat and under the seat, and they had left it in there for like a couple of days before they booked the detailing appointment. And I had got there, and as soon as I opened the door, the smell was so bad I almost got sick. And I had put on a mask so that it would mask the smell, and I was trying to find the strength to do it, and it smelled so bad. Even through the mask, I constantly felt myself like getting sick and like where I was going to get sick. And I also realized that I probably wasn't going to be able to get out the smell because it had been sitting in there for a couple of days. So the last thing that I wanted to do is waste, a few hours working on this. And then at the end, wouldn't be able to produce the result that they wanted. So that was the only job that I just couldn't do. And I just, had to pass on that one. Because I knew at the end it wasn't going to come out the way that they wanted it to, and that I couldn't take money for a job that I knew that I wasn't going to be able to perform to a certain level of standard. So that one was pretty bad. Yeah, yeah. And then what was the other question? What was the like nicest vehicle? Or
Yeah.
done some pretty high end vehicles, like limited edition McLaren. That was like only a few of them in the world. That was a really high end. I do a lot of Rolls Royces, which are pretty high end vehicles. I actually had a call from a client, and he was asking me, what type of vehicles, and I had told him that we can detail anything, and I said I could detail a tank if you had one, and he was like, yeah, he's like, I actually do, and he's like, can you do it? And I thought he was joking, and then I got there, and he actually had a tank. It's the Rezvani tank. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's like a fully armored vehicle that's like bulletproof, and like the glass is like that thick on it. It's all armored out, and so he actually had a tank, and that was like the only time I've ever detailed a tank before. Pretty crazy.
That sounds pretty cool. Do you have like photos?
Yeah, if you go on my Instagram, Top Star Detailing, I post all the vehicles that are like high-end vehicles or unique vehicles like that. You'll see in one of my reels there, it says Rezvani on the image, and that's the one from that.
All right, cool. After like this interview, can you like send me like the video of like the tank one? I would like to add it like into like a shorts, like a clip.
I don't know if you can just clip it off the Instagram, or I don't know if I still have videos on my phone or not. I can check, but if not, you can. I don't know if you can use that footage off the Instagram or not.
All right. Yeah, I'll try to see if I can screen record that one. Yeah, I'll try and see if I can screen record it. All right. Okay. So what was like what was the most you've ever charged like for a client?
Well, my ceramic coating services are going to be more the high-end services. So usually when I book one of those, it's about $1,500. It takes usually around 8 hours to complete the service, 8 to 10 hours, depending on the vehicle. So those are going to be kind of the more expensive packages where it takes pretty much a day to work on their vehicle. So I'm having to block off pretty much my whole schedule for the day to just work on their vehicle. So I have to charge accordingly for that.
All right. So what type of a vehicle is that, anyways, for you to spend like 8 to 10 hours working on it?
Well, all ceramic coatings are going to take, approximately, like a small car would take you like 6 hours because you have to detail it first, and then prep the paint, and then putting on the ceramic coating is a very slow process. So you have to go like panel to panel, and you're just kind of putting it on slowly with an applicator. So it's just time consuming, and you have to charge accordingly for the time. My minimum work rate on that type of service would be like at $100 per hour. Uh, so it's usually a little bit upwards of that because you also have to pay for the product cost involved too. There's a cost with that associated with it too.
All right. Okay, so what was the most you have ever made in a single month?
My best month was just under $19,000, like right at 18.9. And I actually had, I want to say, like 4 or 5 ceramic coatings that month, and I was booked out pretty much every day. I was working, doing 4 to 5 cars a day. I don't even think I had a day off that whole month, maybe a half day or something like that. But I worked that whole month, and now, I'm averaging probably around pretty close to 14,000 a month, I would say, on average now. Some a little bit less, some a little bit more, but that's usually, when you factor all the months in, it works out to right around there.
All right, so for like the ceramic coating, right? Do you have to reach out to these people, or do they still reach out to you?
No, it all comes to me. So I've built strong enough brand now to where I don't have to chase after business anymore. I don't have to chase customers. It's my phone is constantly ringing. I'm constantly getting bookings through my website. Sometimes I'll wake up and see that I got like 2 or 3 bookings for the next day, or they book out through the week through the website. And I've built a strong enough brand now to where the customers aren't really trying to negotiate pricing with me. When you're brand new, and you don't have a lot of experience, people will ask you for discounts, if you can do better on the price. And a lot of new detailers will, just kind of drop their pricing because they don't want to lose the customer. And I'm at a point now where I just don't have to do that. The price is the price, and most of my customers don't even ask for a discount. They've seen the pricing packages on the website, and when they're reaching out to me, they're ready to book an appointment.
How do you deal with like customers that try to, lowball you? How do you deal with those type of customers?
Sometimes you're going to get customers that are like, oh, well, I called this other guy and he can do it for cheaper. He can do it for less. I don't really push back too hard on those type of clients. I don't try to convince the unconvincible. I just tell them, I say, hey, if that guy's going to do it for that much less than me, then you should probably book with him. It sounds like that's going to be a better fit for your budget that you have for detailing. Because I don't negotiate pricing. The only discount that I offer is if somebody has multiple vehicles at one location. Like if they have 2 or 3 cars at the same house, then I'll give them like a 10% discount because I don't have to drive, from one side of town to the other side of town. It saves me a lot on fuel costs. Like gas is so expensive now, that if you have to drive around all day, it could end up costing you $50, $60 in fuel. So I'm happy to pass that savings on to the customer if they have multiple vehicles for me, and I can kind of just stay at the same spot for the day and do them all there.
So you said the most that you've ever made like in a single month was around 18,000, right? What were things that you did differently that month compared to the rest of the other months?
One of the main differences was I had a good amount of ceramic coatings, those higher price services. So that really adds up and can make a big difference in your month. It was also just extremely busy. I had a lot of people reaching out to me to where the details were just stacking up, and I didn't have very many open slots at all. So I was working pretty much from sunrise to sunset, actually working on cars the whole day, all day. So yeah, you sometimes you can't control that stuff. I've had weeks where, like, some months where the first week of the month was super busy, and then the second week of the month was quiet, and then the third week was super busy. So like it's hard to predict, but I usually know overall at the end of the month. Now I'm at a point where I never do less than 10,000 a month. Oh yeah.
Right now, like getting clients for you is like it's not really a big deal for you, right? So, what are some of the strategies that you use to like, create loyal customers?
Again, that's going to come back to the overall customer experience that you create for them, right? So, for one, you got to do a really good quality job to where at the end of every detail, I'll walk through the car with the client and we go over everything. And I always ask them, I say, are you 100% satisfied with the service? Is there anything at all you want me to touch up before I leave here today? And if there is something that I missed, don't be shy, just point it out. And, sometimes they'll say, oh, could you just get this little thing here? And so I always make sure that it's complete and they're 100% satisfied. Once they tell you that they're 100% satisfied with your service, they're never going to leave you a bad review, right? They might not leave you any review, but they're definitely not going to leave you a bad review, right? And then the other part would be the customer experience, the customer service. It's really just talking to your customer and building a relationship with them, asking them a little bit about their day, talking to them about, their hobbies or their interests, just spending 5 minutes getting to know them and kind of making a friend with them. And that goes a long way, so, and a lot of these people that have really nice cars, they don't wait 3 months between details or, they want them serviced on a regular basis because they want to be driving a nice, clean car, and they actually have the finances for it, the budget to do it. So I suggest, we put them on a monthly maintenance package. And with the maintenance package, they do get a lower price for that because once I know that I've already cleaned it a couple weeks ago, it's not going to be as much work when you come back if it's within the same month, right? Now, if 6 months goes by or something, then yeah, you got to charge the regular price because it's going to be a lot more work at that point. But yeah, I have a lot of loyal customers that always come back to me. So I retain a really good amount of my first time customers and convert them into maintenance clients.
You said you charge clients based on like the size of the car, right? So does like how far the car is or how dirty it is change the pricing or?
So I have different packages for that. So I have basically two different levels of packages. I have what's called an express package, which is going to be for vehicles that aren't quite that dirty. Like they don't have stains like in the carpet or in the seats. They're not really super grimy. They just need, a good vacuum, a wipe down, clean the glass, wash the exterior. That service is around 2.5 hours. And then I have another higher level of cleaning service called the executive package, which takes about twice as long. You're looking at like 4.5 to 5 hours on that. And that's going to be a much more like deep cleaning where we steam clean the whole car. We shampoo the carpets, the seats if they're upholstery. It's just a much more thorough cleaning for vehicles that say haven't been detailed, in 5 years or ever, or they have like kids where they're like eating in the back all the time and like there's melted candy in the seats and pet hair and stuff like that, so those are going to take more time, and it all comes down to how much time it's going to take, and you have to charge for that extra time.
So this time, not including the ceramic, what was the longest time you've ever spent detailing a car?
Probably around 6 hours, I would say. And that would be like a large SUV that was just really dirty inside. A lot of pet hair, that really slows things down when there's a significant amount of pet hair. It just takes much, much longer because it gets like ingrained into the carpets and like, you have to spend a lot more time vacuuming to get that out. So yeah, probably like 6 to 7 hours, right around there.
All right, so for those people, right, how much did you charge that SUV?
Those, you're looking at right around $600. Yeah. Again, it comes down to close to 100 an hour.
And what are some of the biggest misconceptions revolving car detailing?
As far as being like a business owner, or what do you mean?
So like some of the biggest misconceptions that you see that people outside of the space think about it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I think a lot of like customers assume that it's just going to be like a quick wash. Like, like a car wash and it'll be done in like an hour. And there's people out there that just assume that it's going to be like, $50, $60 or something. They're really out of touch with the amount of time and effort and product that goes into it. And nowadays the reality is even a drive-through car wash is like $15 to $20 in most places, so, and the thing is that there actually are detailers out there that will do those services at those rates, so they're not set up on a level like I am, and they don't have the kind of money invested into the setup that I have. They're going to be more guys that are working like out of the back of a car with the very basics, like we had talked about, someone starting up with $1,000 to $2,000, right? So that's going to be more that type of detailer that's working at those rates, because they can't charge the really high end pricing, because customers they haven't built up their brand yet to that level where customers are going, the really high end customers anyway, are going to pay those kind of rates for a detailer like that, right? So it's okay, you know what I mean? It's you have to start somewhere, and there's going to be all different levels of detailers, and charging different rates, and there's going to be customers like at all different levels that are comfortable with paying certain rates, right? So I'm happy to let those customers go with those detailers, and I focus more on the high end clientele because I've built a high end brand, so I can charge those prices, and my quality of my work and my service allows me to get that type of pricing my packages.
Okay, so what was the most challenging vehicle that you worked on, and why was it so challenging, and how did you overcome that challenge?
That's a good question. I haven't really had too many. I would say probably like some of the really big like RVs. I've watched like RVs or like semi trucks, stuff like that, where to get up really high, you're on ladders. So you have to work on ladders. And just to reach some of those spots, like on those really tall vehicles, it can be difficult. And you have to watch them in sections too, because you can't just foam the whole vehicle like you can on a car where you just spray foam all over the vehicle and wash it. You can't do that with like an RV or a semi truck that are very large like that, because by the time you even finish like half the vehicle, the other half is going to be dry, right? Like the soap's going to already be dry on it. So you have to work on it in sections. You have to work on it with ladders. It's a lot more complicated with that, and a lot more time involved with it.
So for someone looking to get into the car detailing, what are some of the most basic equipment that they need?
Well, to get started, you're going to need a vacuum for the interior. You're going to need a pressure washer for the exterior. A lot of products and chemicals as far as cleaning, probably too much to name on here, but you're going to need some interior cleaning products, some foam soap for the outside, tire cleaning products like brushes, different wheel brushes to get into the rims and tires. There's a pretty good amount of equipment that you need, to really get into it to where you're going to be doing it at a professional level and be able to service customers where you'll be able to charge money. If you're just looking to do it as like a weekend warrior, like a little side gig thing for friends and family, maybe you don't need as much equipment. You could get by with just kind of the basics with, a bucket and some sponges and some soap and a hose. Out here in Vegas, the water is really bad, so you can't use tap water on vehicles. You have to use deionized spot-free water. So there's places that sell that where you can buy like 50, 60 gallons, and you have a water tank that you fill up. But you really can't charge people money and then use their tap water and stuff, because it'll leave spots all over their car later when the water dries. So depending on where you're at, you may or may not need spot-free water.
So for the people who are just starting out with the most basic equipment, what are some steps that they can follow to become profitable?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you're just starting off with basic equipment, because you're not going to be able to charge that much, right? So you're going to be stuck at those really low end pricing, which makes it difficult to really make much profit. You're kind of working for almost minimum wage at that point, because you're only going to be able to charge like $50, $60. And if it's taking you, 3 hours, two to 3 hours after you factor in the cost of like product and stuff, you're making maybe 30, $40, you know? So it's not going to be like that big money. You're not going to be able to charge $200 to $300 on your packages with that type of setup.
If you were to start over with all the knowledge and experience that you have right now, how would you go about things to get to the level that you currently are?
I would do exactly what I did the first time around. So if you have the money, you want to start off with the best equipment possible and the best setup possible. I'm a firm believer that if you buy nice, you don't have to buy twice, right? So instead of buying like kind of cheaper equipment that you're going to have to like upgrade, you're going to have to spend more money and buy new stuff as you get busier. If you can do all that stuff up front where you have a professional setup that's going to allow you to do, more vehicles per day, 3 to 5 vehicles a day, it's going to make it a lot easier than if you're just trying to do it out of your car with all this stuff jammed in your car. It's not going to be very efficient for you. It's super important to get your website and your Google business page set up from day one, because it's going to take a couple months for the SEO to really kick in. So you don't want to wait until the last minute to like, oh, now I got to set that up, because the longer you wait on that, the longer it's going to delay your results of where customers are going to be reaching out to you. The best advice I can say is make a solid plan and get everything in place before you're ready to actually get started. So you want to have everything like ready to go, which could take you a month or two to really get everything set up, get your business license, your insurance, your setup, your website, all your social medias, have everything ready to go. And then once you launch, you just got to put all your effort into it. And you got to be willing to work a lot. You can't expect to make like a full-time income just working on it when you feel like it. A lot of people think, oh, being a business owner, you're going to get to work whatever hours you want and make your own schedule. And, there's nothing further from the truth on that. If you're going to be a successful business anyway, I can tell you that I've worked more hours per week, and I've worked a lot harder than I ever have at any other job to build a successful business. But here's the but, is it's very fulfilling and rewarding, and you don't really mind doing it as much when you know that you're working for you, when you're building something for you. You're not working for someone else on their time, making them rich, right? It's something that you're building for your future. So I always have that in mind when I'm putting in the hours, and you have to make a lot of sacrifices. It means, you might not get to go to some parties or events and stuff like that with your friends sometimes because you're working on the business. Or if you're someone that likes to watch, 3-4 hours of Netflix every night and stuff like that, it's probably, you're not going to have time to do that stuff. You have to put it into the business if you want to be successful at the level that I'm at, and not everyone wants that, which is okay too. Some people, are going to be happy working 40 to 50 hours on their business, and your income is going to reflect that. You're going to probably make $40,000 to $50,000 a year versus, 140 a year. So it just depends. The amount of success you get out of it is going to be directly correlated to the amount of work that you're willing to put into it.
So what are some of the biggest challenges that you face daily?
Well, it's been rough this summer, man. Out here in Las Vegas, the temperatures were 110 degrees to 120 degrees for almost 2 months straight. So just when you're mobile and you're working outside, you have to be out in the elements, and you have to go to work whether you want to or not. It can be 115 degrees outside, and you got 4 cars to do, and you're just, most people go out in that heat for 15-20 minutes just standing in your driveway, and it's miserable, and they can't wait to get back inside. And you got to think you're going to be working in those type of conditions for 10 hours, or if you're somewhere where the winters get really cold, same thing. You're going to be out there and you're going to be working in the cold and wind, and your hands and feet are going to be wet, and stuff like that. Something to keep in mind. One of the struggles that I'm having now is just finding good help, finding workers, because I'm at a point now where I'm kind of maxed out as to what one person can do. There's only so many hours in a day, so many hours in a week, and I'm pretty much working all of them, right? So I'm trying to find somebody that's a hard worker that has some good work ethic, and I can get some helpers, to where I want to scale up the business and build out another unit, to where I'm right now. Sometimes I'm turning away customers because I just don't have enough hours in the day to service everybody, right? And when you get to that point, you've got to figure out a way to scale up. But it's been very hard to find help, especially in the conditions like in the summertime here. I went through a couple of guys that they were just like, I really like it, but I can't handle working outside in this heat, and like, so it's not for everyone. It can take a toll on you, like mentally and physically.
All right. Do you know about Indeed, like the app?
Indeed, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Have you tried like sending like applications on there, like creating like a work thing, I guess, like hiring people on Indeed? Have you tried that?
I know what you're saying. I haven't really gone that route yet. It's been pretty much just recruiting people like through social media. I'll post on there, or I talk to different people. People will refer people to me, but I'm probably going to have to go that route. I think either through like an Indeed or like a LinkedIn type, uh, system to start getting some more applicants.
Um, what is like the best advice that you have for someone who just got started with your detailing journey?
If you're just getting started, I would say, you just got to not give up. You got to keep going through it. And I would say don't focus on chasing the money, right? Focus on chasing excellence, and the money will follow, right? So you want to just try to get a little bit better every day. Try to get 1% better every day. And as you learn and grow, you're going to keep developing your skill sets. You're going to get better and better. You're going to get more customers, more clients. Focus on just providing them with the best customer experience possible. Focus on building your brand, your reputation. That's going to be the most important thing. Because once you build a really good brand for yourself, a really strong brand, you don't have to focus as much on selling. People are going to see you as a trusted authority in the space, and they're gonna seek out you. They're gonna come to you. So I would also say, don't compare your year one to somebody's year five or something, right? When you're just getting started and you're a couple months into it, I have detailers that will reach out to me and they're brand new, and they'll say, oh, how come I'm not having this level of success yet? And they're only 3 months in or 6 months in, and they're comparing themselves to somebody that's been doing it for 5 years, and their business has been going for 5 years. And you can't compare like at that level. You just, everyone runs their own race at their own pace, I guess is the way the words I'm looking for. So just focus on you, and getting a little bit better each day.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because Alex Ramosi, I'm not sure if you know him. Yeah, he talks a lot
He
about.
lives here. He lives here in Vegas too.
Does he actually?
Yeah, I need to figure out a way to detail his cars. If you ever end up watching this, Alex Ramosi, then reach
Yeah,
out to me, Jeff at Top Star Detailing, and I'll come detail your cars for you.
that's crazy. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he says he talks a lot about this. He's always talking about, a lot of people are just focused on the money, chasing the money. Like they don't really focus on that excellence that you just touched on right there. They're just focused on how do I like what is the best way that I can make the money as quick as possible. But if they just focus on like just improving their skills and they just focus on like providing the most value, I feel like the money is just gonna come. So yeah, definitely I agree with what you said.
You hit the nail on the head, Mohammed. That's what it all comes down to. It's putting the customer's needs first over your needs. So if you go into it with that intent of you're there to serve, you're there to provide value, then the money will follow.
Yeah. All right. So there was a question that was left for you from the last person that I interviewed, and his question was, what is the most important thing in life for you?
That's a good one. That's a good question for sure. I would say family is right at the top for me. There's nothing really more important to me than my family and my close circle of friends. There's nothing that I wouldn't do for any of them. And then next to that would probably be health. Because if you don't have your health, then none of the other stuff is going to matter. It doesn't matter how much money you got, how rich you are, and all that stuff. If you don't have your health, you're not going to be able to enjoy that quality of life. So for me, it's family, friends, and health.
So, what is one question you have for the next person that I interview?
I would say, where do they want to be in the next like 5 years? What's their goal? What's their growth plan for the next 5 years? Where do they see themselves going?
All right. Yeah, I really appreciate you for joining me on this interview, Jeff. A
Hey, I
lot of the things,
appreciate you for inviting me, Mohammed. Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure being your guest.
of course, yeah. So a lot of the things that you talked about, right? I feel like I was able to kind of relate to them because last summer I was kind of doing something similar to what you are doing, but I was doing like window cleaning. So I'll just go door to door. I knock on the door, I'll just pitch to the people, and then like I'll just try to clean like their windows. So a lot of the things that you were talking about, I was really able to relate to them, and I really understood, what you were saying, and a lot of the struggles that you went through. I feel like I kind of also kind of shared that struggle. So yeah, so a lot of people that are watching this video, I'm pretty sure they got a lot of value from it. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I will say this: you're young and you have time on your side, man. So you have all the time in the world to make it happen. So you're never too young to get started. And on the other end of the spectrum, you got me. I'm 50 years old. I just started the business. You're never too old to get started either. So you can change your life. You can create your own reality. You just have to take action. You know.
Yeah, I agree. All right. That's a great interview, man.
Yeah. Thank you, Mohammed.